Welcome back to the Worthy Woman podcast with Aston Simmons. Today, I have an amazing guest. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you, and I feel like we really need it about now. So welcome to the podcast, Ali. Ali is a author. We're going to talk a bit about her amazing book as well. A chiro, a working mum business strategist. And so all the working mums, stay tuned because we've got lots of juicy tips to share around this because it is quite an elusive balance. We were just talking about how the system does not support working mums. So we have to create our own system. So you need to be listening to this episode to help you create that so that you can thrive. That's what Ali is really passionate about. She wrote the Work Mama Life book and she has now splits her time between her private practice as a chiro and serving working mums who own their health businesses to create the life of their dreams, which I absolutely love. Welcome to the podcast, Ali.
Thank you for having me, Aston. I am very, very excited to be here today. I think that this time of year, we're recording this in September. October. Oh my gosh.
October. I know.
I don't even know what
it just suddenly finished, didn't it? I feel like it abruptly ended. I was like, we're still in September. And then all of a sudden, no, we're in October.
We're in October. And we are in the last 3 months of the year.
Yes.
Things are hectic. And so I think that working mum life and the illusion of balance, but what so for us is a really good conversation at this time of year. Yeah,
definitely 100%. I fully agree. And I feel like I need it. I feel like all the mums and the women are just intuitively starting to feel it in their nervous system. Like just it's not quite there yet, but we can feel it coming. So I think this is
on the edge.
This is the perfect time to have the conversation. Ali, I always like to, before we jump in, give my listeners an opportunity to share a bit more about who they are behind their bio. So you're a mum as well. You've written a book. You're an incredible woman. I can already feel the energy from you. So I'd love you to share more of your energy with the listeners so that they can just to get to know you a bit more.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. So I was raised by a matriarchy, I guess, like when we look at things that way. So my mum was a working mum always, and she came from a farm where my grandma was the supporter. But my mum finished high school and wanted to go to uni to study to be a radiographer. And my grandfather was like, no, get married to a local farmer like your sister did. And my mum was like, not happening. And my grandma was like, off you go, Christine. I've saved some money for you. And it was a 6-hour drive to uni, right? So that was sort of the pre-framing of womanhood that I had. And then we step into motherhood, and I always thought, connection is such a big part of what I talk about, that we would be surrounded by all of my beautiful women friends. And we lived in Malaysia, South Korea, Johor Bahru, and creating and curating that meant that I had to experience motherhood and working motherhood in a really different way to what I thought I would. And I think it's been such a blessing, and being able to do that and still have a career and then go down this completely different but highly relatable path as well. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And I think I can really relate. I don't think anyone is like, oh yeah, motherhood was exactly what I expected to be. That initiation looked exactly how I planned. Everything played out. Like, I don't think I've heard one woman ever say that. Like I had a very different experience to what I was expecting as well. And I actually realized I didn't think I was expecting it to look a certain way. But like you said, we do, because we see it in our own lives, in our own families, in movies, and we all have these fantasies or these idolizations that we hope are going to happen.
And they've been planted there for years.
Have.
Like, they have that patriarchal concept that when you're a good mum, you act a certain way, and when you're not a good mum, you act a different certain way, is implanted in our brains from a very young age. And being able to recognize it and say, yes, that does work for me, or that is not my path, I think is one of the greatest gifts that we can give ourselves to.
Yes, I love that you said that. I literally had to break up with that whole good mum story because it just was not serving me, It made me question everything. And I was like, I'm doing my best, and that's actually gets to be enough because, I think often the labels can get in the way, and good is like, it's a
What
perspective
is good?
thing. Like, what is that even? Like, depending on, that day or that season or what support you have, like, it's going to look different for everybody. So I think dropping the judgment is a huge, huge part of reducing all of that stress and pressure that, ultimately we put on ourselves and then each other. And yeah, it has a big impact. Well, I think talking about stress and pressure is probably a really great place to dive into, since we're already heading there. So, what are some of the indicators of burnout and neurological stress? Like, how does it show up?
So it can show up in lots of different ways for lots of different people. So my burnout, because I sort of started going on this journey. I'm a health practitioner. At this point in time, I'd been in practice something like 18 years. So you think, I've got my shit together. I work with mums. I work with kids. I didn't even ask if I can swear, sorry.
Yeah,
And
go for it.
and and then we had all these big life events, and my body let me know. So I got a vigorous cuddle from my kid. You can all relate to this, listeners, I'm sure. And he hit under my chin with his head as he jumped into my arms, and it threw my head back. And I immediately got this weird beard wrapping sensation on my face.
Wow.
And I just was like, I'll just get adjusted. I'm a chiropractor. I'll just get adjusted. It'll go away. It didn't go away. And then I started gaining weight rapidly, 10 kilos in 3 months, which is a huge amount of weight for someone of my frame to gain. I'm not a small frame nor a big frame person, just an average person. And then I couldn't sleep, and I wasn't able to concentrate. I was really fuzzy. I was short with the kids, and I was like, my body is not right. So I was like, I think I have a brain tumor based on the neurology that was showing up. And so I had brain MRIs, all clear. And then I was like, well, it must be my thyroid. I think maybe I've got Graves or Hashis. No, that was fine. Maybe it's MS. No, that's fine. And in the end, it was burnout, pure and simple.
Wow.
Yeah, cortisol bottoming out, adrenals not able to function. Like, I could mainline 6 shots of coffee a day and be like, oh, I'm going to sleep tonight, but still sleep for 2 hours. It was just
Yes.
ridiculous. But burnout in women often shows up as trying to be that perpetual duck on the water, looking calm on top and busy underneath. And we get short-tempered. Our cycle will change. It will impact on our hormones. We will get a big shift in our sleeping patterns and those elements. We will often have a weird neuroscience show up with it. And weight gain is a super common part, because if our body is in burnout mode, it's in a high stress point. We're not able to regulate our vagus out of dorsal vagal back to ventral vagal. And so it goes, well, I need to store all of this food because I feel like I'm going to be chased by a lion soon. So we just need to be able to go, my body isn't great. And I think the greatest gift is that we stop and ask, how am I today? Like, feeling this today, what is the greatest thing that's happening here for me right now? And that's where the power of our intuitive womanhood lies, where we can actually go ask the question and give ourselves the space. But the problem is society doesn't recognize that as a valid component of womanhood, and we are expected to ask from outside in influences about what is wrong with us, rather than really being able to gift ourselves that time and space to listen in.
Yeah. Oh my God. Goosebumps. That is huge. And I can relate. Like 4 years ago, I definitely hit burnout, and it was after my second child. And I was that person that was just on the surface looked fine. But yeah, underneath everything was going on all the time. And like you were talking about, we're not taught how to regulate our nervous system. So, that it's not a new thing, but it's kind of a new conversation that we need to do that. And if we're not regulating, if we're not breathing, if we're not slowing down before we speed up, it will catch up with us. And that, I love the book, The Body Keeps the Score. And it does. It just shows up and you're like, what the hell? Where did this come from? For me, it was, I started to lose my hair. I started losing hair. I wasn't sleeping. I was gaining a bit of weight, around my stomach area. And it was, the way it came forth and came through was different to, it's like you just knew. I just intuitively knew something was not quite right. And I went to the doctors, got all the tests, and everything was fine, because I thought maybe it was my thyroid and no, it was, I remember my doctor saying, I actually think it's a sign you need to slow down. I think this is, that you're running your life the same way you did probably prior to when you had one child and then even before kids, because there is this ridiculous expectation for productivity out there. It's just insane. Like, it's in the workplace, it's in the home, it's this addiction to busy. And I remember literally having to decide to break up with it and to choose to consciously slow down. And in the beginning, I did kind of feel a bit lazy compared to what I was doing.
You're suddenly sitting around going, oh, what am I doing? I'm just going to read a book.
Yeah.
Wow, I haven't done that in 15 years.
Yeah. Or just like sit with what I'm feeling and connect into myself and actually realize, oh, I'm breathing a bit fast. I actually do need to slow down and just regulate and get back in my body. And now it's a normal part of my life, and it's great because I can teach my kids and I don't shame myself for it or anything like that. But I remember going through like this process of, feeling some shame, like having to learn how to rest. I mean, it just seems so ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
It's crazy. But now it's easy for me. But I understand for some women listening who are so in the system. And so, I've had clients that, they're working full time, ridiculous hours. They're dropping their kids at daycare. They're going to work. They're picking their kids up from daycare. They're rushing in to do the dinner, and their partners work away, or, it's just, it's insane. When it's completely unrealistic.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how normal it is.
Yeah. And in the space I work in with healthcare business owners, we're expected to show up to work and be 100% in service to other people, which is fine. And then we finish our client time, and then we right, so now we need to order the vitamins, check the stock. If you've got a good office manager, that takes a lot of that off your plate, but then you have to liaise with them and have those meetings and train your staff. And then you need to organize it. Like my week this week, we have one club night swimming, school swimming carnival, first swim meet of the season, 4 swimming trainings, soccer training, soccer game, and a basketball game. And that's all just after school. Yeah, exactly right.
So you literally, as you say, so how do you work in that? How do you cook?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, I know. I got my brand new Thermomix after I'm 20 years into Thermomix. I got my brand new one yesterday. Not affiliated, just love it. I am so excited for dinner the next few days. But yes, it is. And it's a season. So sometimes we have seasons and weeks where they're like that. And I think being able to know what your body is like, you can go, right, well, this week I know that I'm going to be really busy. So what can I do for myself to manage that? And for me, I made sure that I have scheduled time in the middle of my week when my kids are both at school where I have blank space, because I know if I don't get that blank space, it's a big problem. And I have made sure that I kept moving my body because movement is the other really big thing. Our brain thrives on movement to feel a sense of safety. So when we are in that state of neurological stress, one of the greatest things we can do is just start gentle movement. And often that's so difficult because we're feeling so stressed that we can't, I can't put another thing into my week. How can I put that back into my week? But the benefit of it is, but by doing that, I am 1,000% a better human.
Yeah,
and it doesn't have to be an hour at the gym. It can be one lap of the block for 5 minutes.
I'm so glad you said that, because I know for me as a mum, I had to unattach from the way it looked. Because often we're high achievers. It needs to look perfect. We need the yoga pants, the yoga mat, the proper membership. We need all the things to be set up. And then that actually blocks us from doing the things. So for me, I've had to make it so simple. I was just sharing with a client today that I don't have a specific morning routine. It doesn't mean I think they're great, but with 2 kids that still creep into my bed, up and down, all these things,
sometimes you're not going to get that done.
Had to unattach from it. So my morning routine looked like me doing my visualization. Once they got out of the bed, I just laid there for an extra few minutes and did a visualization and felt that in my body. And then I felt better. When I put my makeup on, I'll put some music on and I'll dance. That's how, I find I have to do my morning routine throughout my day, just in those little minutes or moments. because it helps me, and just unattached from the way it looks. I'm not always in the perfect gear. It's not always the perfect time, but I just get it done. I feel better, and then I'm able to keep going. And I love how you said to schedule it, because I had to literally schedule white space in my calendar. Otherwise,
it doesn't happen.
It wasn't going to happen. I was just going to keep filling the calendar. So I think that's another really great tip if you're in that busy burnout phase, to just start to schedule white space. And, you know, initially you'll probably just be sitting maybe in the sun or reading a book or something.
Hopefully with bare feet on a piece of grass.
Yes.
Or in some nature somewhere, because then you're getting like the added bonuses of all those elements with it too.
Yeah, definitely.
And we have like a dodgy park around the corner from my practice. Like, we're talking full dodgy. You check the ground first, right? And but sometimes we'll, as a team, we will walk down there and take our shoes off and just be like, okay, now we're all connected again, and we go back to work. And it's amazing what that does.
Yeah, I love how you speak so much to connection in all of your work, because that's one of my highest values. And I think in anything, in relationships, with kids, with our work, if we don't have that connection to ourselves, we don't feel connected to the earth or where we are or what we're doing, it makes it very hard to do the thing, you know?
Very difficult.
Yeah. So I think that's really important. Is that one of the 5 simple steps? I really want to jump into those. Is that one of them?
Yeah. So in the book Work Mama Life, and it came out of a course that I have called the Working Mama Reset, actually. And
awesome.
What it is, it's an online course, and it's there. You can just get it whenever you want, work your way through it. It's 8 weeks, 34 videos. It's awesome. But
amazing.
It is the 5 things are things that are going to help to neurologically correct it. And there's not a right way or a wrong way to do them. So we can often we'll get these things and it'll be like, you have to start with this, but any of these 5 things can be worked on at any given time. So the first one that I talk about is nutrition. And I think that that can be really huge for a lot of people, is how we can create that level of nutrition that we want. I'm actually just finishing up 6 weeks of super conscious nutrition, because I hadn't done it in a while, and I wanted to feel what it was like when you've come from the other place again. And it's been such a blessing. But it's just a simple stuff of actually tasting what you're eating. What are you putting in your body? What does that? Do I like that? Is my body receptive to this? Is it not? And thinking about whole foods, and that as women, eating packaged foods and eating pre-processed stuff doesn't support us as we move through motherhood. And I mean, I've been there eating the scraps off my kids' plates and then going, oh, what am I going to eat for dinner? I'll have a scrambled egg again. And that's okay. That's a season, right? But nutrition is a really important part of that. The next one is movement. And we've already spoken about that. I think movement, we know that it drives our brain health and our function and our senses of safety. One thing I do want to mention is that if we are going through a adrenally challenged burnout type of time, heavy movement can be really opposite, and it can create more stress in our body. And that's when things like your CrossFit and your HIIT exercises may not be right for you. And you need to really pair that back to restorative type stuff. And then as you heal, you can bring those things that you love back in. The third one is sleep. And I think, we all laugh about this as mothers, and working mothers will often be catching up on our work after school or after the kids have gone to bed, and then our brain's busy. And so then we stay up later and doom scroll and watch TV for a little while. And it gets to a point where sleep is the last thing on our list. I mean, I still get woken up most nights by my nearly 11-year-old because she doesn't want to walk 15 steps to the bathroom, and that's okay. But I do go to bed at about 9 o'clock every night, and I don't get up till 5:30. So you've just got to find a balance. You've got to acknowledge that maybe one night a week you need to go, I'm out, and put yourself to bed before everyone else in the family. I know I do that probably twice a month, where I'm like, it's my turn.
There's times that I have to do that, definitely. I'm like, if anyone needs me, they can come find me, but I'm in bed.
Yeah,
I'm going to be the first one in bed tonight.
And it's like a race. Who can beat it? Except they all pile in and want to sleep with you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the tricky bit. The fourth one is thinking and calm. And I think also when I've spoken to working mums, there's this huge mindset out there that to meditate or meditate well or have thoughtfulness, it needs to take hours. You need to go to classes to learn how to do it. And I'm a huge proponent for 5 minutes is better than nothing.
Yeah.
And what can we do within the activity load that we already have during our week, where can I bring calm back in? So it might be a breathing technique while we're sitting at traffic lights or we are washing the dishes. And that can be enough to begin regulating your nerve system. Or it might be actually going and doing, like I use Insight, which is a free app, and I do a guided meditation a couple of times a week, and they go for about 10 minutes. So it's not hours long, but it's just something to start your brain winding down and using different pathways. And then the last one is connection. Connection is, I think we know now through the polyvagal theory that your neurons are talking to my neurons and we are all connected. And the thing that makes us most human is our ability to read a room and connect with others. And that to be healthy, we need that social connection. And as mothers, if we're busy, what's the first thing we stop doing? We cancel the coffee date and stay home, right?
Yeah.
So making sure that happens and combining connection with one of those other things is so powerful. So can you connect with someone and go for a walk and then you're getting your movement in? Can you connect with someone and go and have lunch and then you're going to eat your food? So where does that fit in as well?
Oh, I love that. And I love, like, as you were talking, I was thinking connection can really, you can use so many of them together to create that connection, and they can work really well to really increase the experience. And I think that's also where I've had to learn to be okay with the blend of it.
Yes.
So like what you were talking about, I think pre-kids, you seem to be able to separate everything, in its own box, but kind of after kids, it gets a little bit tricky. And it's murky waters. It's a little bit messy. It's very magical, but it is a little bit messy. And sometimes it can be a lot for our minds to kind of comprehend. But I know for me, being able to lean into the blend and being like, it can be a walk and a play date and like a beautiful, nutritious lunch. And I actually, and I could leave feeling so full, and it's like, that wasn't so hard. Like, it gets to be easier when we're willing to allow things to blend a bit, allowing them to, other parts of our lives to touch each other and it all be okay. It's not going to be perfect, but I think we're all learning that perfection doesn't exist. So the sooner we can embrace this kind of beautiful, messy magic and just see it as all working for us, all working for our, our mental health, our physical health, our emotional health. I think that's what holistic kind of healing and holistic living is really about.
Exactly right. And I think that as a society, it's not encouraged to look at holism and that holistic mindset very often, because we are only as good to each other person in our parts, and the whole of us is where we are our exceptional selves, and it's just not honored in the way that it really should be.
Yeah, definitely. Which is sad, but we get to change that, don't we? By how we choose to show up and our own system, or how we choose to be. And I know that's definitely been an invitation for me as well. Amazing. I've absolutely loved this chat. I really want to share all of your resources. So I'm going to put your links below, your book, the course we talked about, because that sounds amazing. And I'll share it with the listeners so that they can find you. Where else can they find you? On Instagram? Or
I'm on Insta at dr.aliyoung, ALIYOUNG, and that's where I share lots of stuff. I am having a bit of a social media break at this exact point in time.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll be back probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. We'll just see how it goes. And my website is draliyoung.com, and that's where there's a heap of free resources on there if you scroll down to the bottom of that page, and you can join my newsletter as well.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for your time. I literally feel like richer and fuller from this conversation. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And guys, definitely go and check out Ali's work and check out her book. I know I'm going to be getting her book. I'm super excited. And thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.